Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our second panel discussion for the morning. Our panelists shall be discussing empowering developers, elevating experiences, crafting the future of GCC ecosystems in experiential office spaces. To moderate the session, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashwin Velodi, partner Deloitte India. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Velodi. I'd like to welcome our moderator for this session. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, just a moment. Once again, let's welcome to the stage the moderator for this panel, Ashwin Velodi, partner Deloitte India. Welcome, sir. Mr. Velodi, I request you to please take the center seat. Yes, sir. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our panelists for this session. Nirupa Shankar, Joint Managing Director, Brigade Group. Ms. Shankar is going to join us in just a few minutes. She will join us as soon as she enters the room. She'll take the stage. But please put your hands together for our next three panelists who are going to take the stage right now. Gaurav Singh, President, Table Space. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Gaurav Singh. Aman Kapoor, CEO, Airport Land Development GMR Airports Limited. And Amit S., Head Leasing, Embassy Group. Let's welcome our panelists with a big hand once again, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together and let's make some noise for them. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, gentlemen. Mr. Velodi, the stage is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good morning to all the attendees here. Very happy to be here. What we'll do today, we've got, I think, a little bit touch and go with the Bangalore traffic, but we have a full house as far as panel members. I'll do two things. Let me give a quick introduction. My name is Ashwin. I'm a partner with Deloitte. I drive all the strategy for Deloitte Consulting. And what I thought we'll kick this off is with a few kind of comments and setting some context for the session we have today, right? So three basic things is what Deloitte is seeing in this market. One is the work. The work itself is changing. The quality, the type, the engagement, the different models of work that a lot of the clients that some of these my fellow panelists work with, and a lot of the people who are in this crowd, the quality of the work, the type of work, and the technologies used in work is changing. So that's a big trend that we are seeing in this space, and GCCs are right at the center of that transformation. So that's work. Then the work, the other continuous change is happening is in the workplace. The workplace itself is now getting a much more holistic definition. There are things around sustainability, around innovation, around flexibility that seems to be very, very prominent in whoever is the user of the space and obviously a buyer of spaces and experiences. So 4 or 5 key themes are emerging in the workplace. And then the last aspect we are seeing is unprecedented focus on sustainability, around long-term impacts of what these spaces, the GCC construct, the experiences, what they provide in the broadest sense is happening, okay? And there are enough, and Deloitte has rolled out fair bit of analysis, report, commentary on this, and we are continuing to work with clients in this space to help them kind of use digital transformation and other key levers to make the work, the workplace, and the experience sustainable over long periods of time. So that's the, with that as the broad context, I thought I'll kick this off. We've got, I see the clock run out. Maybe we'll start with you, Gaurav. Your business model, the heart of it is flexibility, right? You're continuously working on providing all sorts of different options to your clients. So maybe you can start off with how does flexibility work in the, get placed in the context of work, workplace, experience and sustainability, and how do you see this picture as table space?
Thank you. Good morning. You know, it's interesting for me to begin this because I'm probably the newest to this, this part of the world. I'm a hotelier at heart, spent my last 3 decades there, and then moved into real estate just earlier this year. And I'm, if I may humbly say that I'm still learning in this space. So I'll try and add value to what you said. I guess from a perspective of table space and what we do, and for me to be in the organization today, and you very aptly put it, our heart is really focused on the flexibility part of our business. But at the same time, I think coming in from a services background or a hospitality background, we want to increase experiences in our offices, in our workplaces. We as a company today do a full circle from custom, design, build, and then operate. And for that, the fact that GCCs today need that support from a governance point of view, from a speed point of view, a point of view of flexibility, and need, I think that need is only growing as I see numbers in this industry, and I look at, let's say, some of the points that Deloitte, in fact, published in the last year or so. I'm told anywhere between 8 to 9 million square feet were taken in the flex space alone in India. And fortunately enough, I can today say that table space was taking 1/4 of that space with the GCCs in that spectrum. So it just tells you that our model actually has a absolute marriage to the discussion point that you raised.
Got it. No, thank you. Maybe Nirupa, I'll come next to you. Maybe see, obviously your brand is very, very well known in India, especially in Bangalore. And one of the things I've noticed is that the community aspect of it, right? How you all, the GCC and its presence as not only real estate, but in terms of the services it offers to the community, both who are working in the space and around it. How does experience, community get fostered in the context that how you see it as Brigade Group? You know, how do you see that along the lines of how some of my comments in the opening remarks?
So thank you for that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nirupa Shankar. So I'm with Brigade Group, and we are builders. But when you look at building, you don't look at building just 4 walls. Typically, we always look at the office segment as the least complex asset class when it comes to real estate, right? Because you just have to typically build the warm shell and give it to the client. They do the fit outs, and that's all we need to do from the building perspective. But obviously, when you look at homes, there are a lot more walls, a lot more toilets. If you look at hotels, hotels are very, very complex asset classes. And of course, the most complex is probably a hospital. But so from a complexity perspective, I would say offices are actually the easiest to develop and the ones you can do quickest. And of course, there's also retail. Malls are also a different asset class. So when we look at real estate or offices as a community, right, we like building mixed-use townships such as this. Like Brigade Gateway is, I would say, a very good example of a mixed-use township where you're creating a community. For instance, what it has is the World Trade Center, which is an office building, a hotel such as Sheraton. It has the Orion Mall. So there's retail. Then there's a hospital, which is Manipal. Then there's residences. Then there is also a school for the children of this area. Then you've created a lake. It's a man-made lake in order to create a positive vibe. I think one of the most important things when we even think of an office, as soon as you enter the office, and it's the same for a hotel, it's the same for an office, as soon as you enter, what is the vibe you get? Like, if the luminosity and the lux levels are very low, does it pull down your energy? What is the music playing in your office? If it's a peppy music or a spa, sleepy music, how does it impact you? And we all know that music impacts how we think and how we feel. What are the colors that you use in an office, for instance? Like, is it a bright red where you can get tired, where your eyes will get tired? Or is it a pleasing green or a white or a light blue, which is scientifically known to reduce stress? Colors like green, blue, all reduce stress. So there are so many aspects when you think of it. So we like building mixed-use developments because there are a lot of synergies. The people who come into our offices like to use the mall because they need, maybe at the end of the day they need to go buy something or they want to go have a drink with a friend. The people who stay in the, or who are working out of the offices will have visitors coming, so then they need to put them up in the hotel. So there are a lot of synergies by creating such a mixed-use township. An interesting thing that probably nobody else would have in such a township is an accelerator. We have an accelerator that works with technology, startups for the PropTech space, just in PropTech. So I think we're the only ones we were the first ones in Asia to start it, but we have mentored 70 companies thus far. Wow. So, and a lot of them have an end use with GCC clients in mind. For instance, I'm sure we will talk more about sustainability, but a lot has to, I think we will talk more about sustainability, but there is a lot of tech that goes into offices these days. For instance, sometimes the air outside is worse than the air quality inside sometimes, if the filtration is not good, is worse than the air quality outside. So there is technology to see how, what level of microns you can filter out. So very high level microns, especially post-COVID. Now people promise COVID-free air. How do they promise COVID-free air? Because they look at the size of a COVID particle, which is 0.2 microns, and they have air filters that can filter up to 0.1 micron. So they filters out all the COVID particles. So that's technology when it comes to your heat and ventilation. Then you have, you could do, of course, keeping your operating costs low, energy, you have smart energy solutions for sensors. Then there's water management, because now I think all GCCs want to be net zero. They want to be in net zero buildings. So how do you be net zero water? Before you get to net zero building, you have to be net zero water, net zero energy, net zero waste. And then perhaps you can expect the builder to also eventually create a net zero building. But there's so many aspects to it. So I think when you talk of community, it is how do you make it easy for the end client? If a GCC is the end client, what are his various needs, right? What are his various needs? Okay, a place for work, a place for living, a place for playing, so social infrastructure, residential infrastructure, technology, like creating an innovative hub, and of course the area and the space for innovation and productivity. Like I said, the vibe of the place for me is very important. So how do you create a vibe? Greenery, trees, parks. So community is so many things, and I could go on and on, yeah. But I will stop here.
No, thank you. That was quite comprehensive. So Amit, maybe just picking off a thread from her reply, maybe you could talk a little bit about your organization's focus on two aspects, maybe, and as you open up, sustainability and end-to-end value that somebody like yourself through Embassy provides to an ecosystem with a focus on GCC. Maybe just...
Thanks, Ashwin, for the question. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amit Shetty. I head the leasing business for the Embassy portfolio. Sustainability, I think the key word today in sustainability is the awareness, right? So I think from an Embassy perspective, what we're trying to do is educate people of the sustainability initiatives and what we could do in every aspect and every facet of our life. Like, for example, what we're doing now is that, as a community outreach program, we've actually taken up 50,000 students across government schools, where we're teaching them about sustainability and segregation of waste as a simple tool in the sustainability, dialogue. So, these guys are then champions, and, we've taken about 10 villages across North Bangalore where we are organizing waste collection and waste management. Now, that's become a sustainable event by itself, and we've taken another 10 events because now BVMP has taken over that. So I think sustainability, when we say, is about basically first educating ourselves and then bringing awareness in the community, right? Now, if I come to what we as Embassy are doing, I mean, we build very large ecosystems of business ecosystems, be it Manyata, be it, we've got about 121 acres, 12.5, 15 million square feet of operating spaces, right? So here what we've done is we've actually benchmarked ourselves against some of the best in the world. We have a 19 agenda program, and each agenda is metric based with a single champion. Now, what we also do is we actually, have a report card that actually is shared with our shareholders, be it both internally and externally. Now, if I take, like Nirupa said, for example, energy. So we have targeted ourselves by 2040, we'll be 100% carbon free. And to this extent, we've got a 315-acre solar farm in Bellary. We're generating currently about 100 megawatts, right? So simply, the other initiative that you're taking is water stewardship. How can our buildings be zero discharge, right? So we've changed all our high consumption, air-cooled chillers into water-cooled chillers. So thereby there is zero discharge in the building, right? Waste management again. Waste is segregated. We ensure that, the waste that comes out are going into organic waste converters. Manure is formed out of that. That's been used in plantation and in landscaping, right? The plastic that comes out, we're mixing that with the road asphalt so that, there's no waste that actually goes out of into the community. Simple other things that we're doing is, we've actually, there are 2 buildings that are pretty old and we had to bring it down because of age. What we've done is that we've not let any of that go into a landfill, right? Typically in India, about 150 million tons of landfill goes into, the community spaces. So what we've done is we've taken that to a waste management authorized agent where they recycle this. We've bought back the aggregates. The rubble goes in the pavements again, and the steel is again recycled. So, I think we should now start thinking of circular economy as well, right? Sustainability is actually a very good business model. The solar plant that we have, it's public information. It's 3-year payback, 30% IRR. So I don't think, by contributing, we're actually going negative. We're actually going positive. And that's where I think the awareness aspect also comes into sustainability.
Got it. No, I think you kind of broadened that whole conversations. Maybe Aman, I think from the broad perspective, from GMR, you're like much bigger picture, larger infrastructure build out. So maybe some context on how your organization looks at this aspect, but I'll kind of add and ask to maybe say, how does an end-to-end experience that you are looking for your end clients to have, especially in this context of this conversation at GCCs, that will be useful.
Yeah. I want to go back to kind of the mid-90s for just a minute. And you look at how relationship of technology and real estate. And if you look at to fulfill the need of space for our technology, and in the early years of early 90s, the business of what I call IT and IT-enabled services and software development centers, real estate evolved from fragmented ownership to consolidation. As our tech business, our IT-enabled services business, our BPO, our TPO, our transaction processing centers started to emerge, that model evolved from a consolidated space, institutionally owned, into large scale. Scale became important. As you would have seen, Bangalore is the largest beneficiary of that, as a lot of technology businesses sort of established in this part of the world. And that evolution is happening even today. As in the previous panel, our panelists were talking about evolution of technology business in India, how today it's taken a leadership position in the business and not a transaction processing type of a use. It's the similar story and evolution in real estate as well. Today, global capability centers are giving birth to what we call global business centers, right? If you look at, and in order to build a large, globally recognized district, it requires top-end infrastructure. You need to solve the big puzzle of traffic. And that is something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis in our lives in this city, in Delhi, in Mumbai. So, no story is different. And therefore, airports play a very important role, and that's where we come in. We started with hospitality as a anchor and build India's largest hospitality district in Aerocity in Delhi. That's a 7 million square feet development with 5,000 hotel rooms. As we observe the need for setting up large global capability centers, we moved along with a partner. And today in Delhi's Aerocity, we are building 11.5 million square feet at one time. And it is unprecedented in North India, particularly in Delhi, to build that volume of space on one time. Otherwise, when you look at office vacancies are high. Hyderabad, Bangalore are suffering relatively high office vacancies, particularly post-COVID. This provides an opportunity to really create a global business district. And that's one of the things that we've sort of focused on. It's also at our Hyderabad airport, while the city is building unlimited FAR and building 40, 50, 60-story towers and trying to force fit space, we at our Hyderabad airport, because height is actually a restriction for us, being close to the airport, we can actually build 2, 3-story campuses, really differentiated space as opposed to what you may find in the cities. Similarly, as global capability centers start to look at tier 2, tier 3 markets for talent, also look at alternative locations, then places like Goa, who people have never looked at from employment perspective or talent perspective, but just because of the charm of the destination today, that is one of the new emerging markets in terms of setting up global capability center, because of the transient nature of the population that uses and works within the global capability centers. If you worked in an IT park, or if you were working in a BPO, you were doing the same job for years, the same thing, right? Back office job. But today, global capability centers work with high quality of talent. They are nurturing talent, and the talent is not staying in one city for a very long period of time. And because of that transient nature of the talent, you can actually build capability centers, not necessarily in one city, but you can go to the second city, the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and you can even go to some cities where talent may or may not be available in that sense, but because of the charm of that city, you'll be able to do something. So add to that the infrastructure that airports provide. Airports have absolutely pristine title of land. Title comes from the government. Airport is a priority sector for government, so we don't have our power failures. We always have water supply. We get priority for all utilities. At all of our airports, we have our own power grid. We don't depend on the government's own or the DISCOM's power grid to provide power. So there are a huge amount of advantages. And another big advantage at the airport is that today, reaching the airport is a prime objective. And therefore, whether it's state government or central government, millions and billions of dollars are being poured in to build infrastructure for people to reach the airport. So big highway, whether it's Delhi will, in the next 3 years, will have 4 metro lines coming to the airport, including an RRTS, etc. There's a metro line coming to Hyderabad airport. In Bangalore, that's the same thing is happening. And therefore, from an infrastructure perspective, from robustness of what's needed in order to build a global business district, that provides a compelling reason. Our focus is to provide those destinations, work with developers and partners to co-locate global business, global capability centers as one of the many asset classes that we co-locate at our airports.
Got it. Now, I think we kind of had some context setting from each of you. So let me now take the remaining few, maybe I'll try to get 2 questions in. One is maybe we'll start with both of you, maybe just see what's in the GCC context, we kind of laid out the broad themes of what each of your businesses are focused on. In the GCC context, for both of you, do you see the amenities, innovation, experience, sustainability, prop tech, give you that much leg up in premium paying power from the end clients who are trying to buy this space? Is this something that is of value? Is this monetizable? And then, how does it lead, and what's your view? Maybe maybe Gaurav, you can weigh in as well, on end-to-end services. Because this is, do you all see this as the full value chain, or is it part of the things? Because maybe I'll stop with this.
Yeah, so I was hoping to hear what you had to say on the premium on pricing. But I would say that today, like I was saying, like getting to a green building is a must-have. It's not a nice to have anymore. I remember there was a time when people used to do LEED, maybe IGBC, silver, gold, platinum. Now it is only platinum, and even if you're gold and silver, it's irrelevant. So you have to start creating shell and core. Even the civil structure of a building has to be platinum IGBC rated, which is the Green Building Code. Apart from that, I think it is a complete value chain, and that is what all of us are trying to do, right? Because how do you service a GCC client from end to end, from creating the building? So we have to offer all services. So not only do you provide the warm shell, if they want a fitted out a space, you do that. If it's a managed space, you do that. So we created our own brand. While of course there's WeWork and CoWorks, we created our own called Buzzworks, because it's not really, it is only as a managed office service that you want to provide. So if a client comes and says, hey, I want to take 100,000 square feet, out of that 10% needs to be flexible or managed office, we want to be able to provide that. We don't want to necessarily have the likes of table space or anybody else giving that when we can. Why let go of that value chain?
Fair.
So apart from that, it is, you do get a premium. The fact of the matter is, if you come up with an A-grade product, an A-grade look and feel, and an A-grade experience, you will get the premium. Okay. And typically, I've seen a premium of at least 15%. 10 to 15% is something you can definitely get compared to a building that doesn't provide all of these. Technology, like I said, the green interventions is very important, and that's why I said my objective is to see how can we provide all these tech interventions on a platter. If it is energy management, water management, waste management, any other kind of solution, I want to be able to provide my clients saying, here, we have these companies, we have mentored them, we have worked with them, this is what they've done. So you provide sustainability as a service, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So that is my end goal. It is not as smooth yet. Right now, it is still a bit, okay, we have different vendors or different startups that we have worked with for each. But the idea is, can you even provide sustainability as a service on a platform with multiple tech interventions and give it on a silver platter? That is the end objective.
No, we see that as well as Deloitte, but yeah, please.
Yeah, I agree with Nirupa. I mean, from the premium perspective, there is a premium to everything. And today, in today's world, from a global capability center, what we used to see, say, 10 years ago, the work that was being done to what's being done today. Today, you know, some of the capability centers are doing cutting-edge technology work. And obviously, you know, you're employing, you know, top talent in the country, right? And you're paying top dollars as well to these talent. So obviously, the expectation from that talent, also from the space, is very high, right? Amenities, like you said. A host of amenities. You know, a traveler today, a global traveler, does not like to, you know, spend 45 minutes on the road. He would want a solution within the tech park so that he can actually walk, right? And use that 45 minutes probably to run, right? So essentially, health is another big concept amongst everyone today, right? You want to eat right, you want to work out right, so you want to have a gym, you want to have a pool, you want to have healthy options around, in and around. In the evening, when you finish work, you would like to actually, you know, take your friends out, have a beer in the community rather than actually exiting out of the community within the business ecosystem and going out. So I think amenities play a very, very important part. And not only that, even for an average employee who actually accesses the space, you know, simple things like parking needs to be a little more simpler than how it used to be. You don't want to go, you know, run round in a MLCP versus, you know, you want to see which zones on an app is available for parking and you want to go there directly. So, you know, these are things that are coming up and catching up, and we as developers, you know, are wanting to, you know, give this experience because the client today is willing to pay that extra dollar. Right?
So that was so they are able to recognize that difference.
Absolutely.
Any views? And
Ashwin,
maybe-
I'm going to add to what both said, and I think as operators providing a workplace as a solution for our clients who reside in our premises, so to speak. At the heart of it, we are working for enterprise clients.
Yes.
And those enterprise clients have a particular ethos. They have a culture. They have their own design. They have their own thought of how their office should be. They have a DNA to their office. Our aim is to be able to customize that DNA into providing that to them as their office, and then be able to operate it in the manner that they would operate it themselves or better. And that comes with the developers providing us all these amenities, the ecosystem, which is part of the leasing that we would do before we were to provide it, because that's part of our business. One of the other things that we are doing is naturally elevate what we do lease to be able to provide even further amenities. Can we, and you spoke about the premiums, you spoke about the opportunity to monetize spaces, and both of it exists. And I think there is clearly a 15% premium available if you are able to provide top quality grade A assets in a grade A location, sustainable buildings, providing solutions which take care of many problems that one would have. A core part of table space today is the fact that we believe that tech stays first. And while Nirupa touched on it, and so did the other panelists in their conversations, I think for us tech is not just in the ability to find a parking. Of course, you need that, and that's really critical. But we've kind of taken it in every step of our journey. So to give you a perspective at Table Space, what we do is when we are constructing, let's say, an office for a particular enterprise, we have a tech to be able to provide a platform on a live basis on every day, pictures taken from the CCTVs appointed in the office space of the update of what work is happening, and they're able to have a chart, a PERT chart saying this is your deadlines in which this would be complete, and if it's green, that means we are on track. If it's running behind time, you can see it real time, and it's available for them to be able to log on sitting in the US or in Europe where they're building their center here. And the ability for us to be able to flex that now when somebody wants to enhance their capabilities, hire more talent, or grow into different cities from one location, now have hubs in multiple cities. Very often what happens is and I don't want to take away, there are developers who kind of work in multiple locations. There are some who are big in one location, and then you have to work with different sets of people. One of the things that we are able to provide is that we work with multiple people, and we are able to provide it in multiple locations. So it becomes a one-stop shop. And for all the services that one would provide, right from custom designing to build to operating, and even in operations you have silly bills from a newspaper to a car parking valet to a heavy bill of electricity and so on and so forth. That there may be a 60 billing that could happen to a client. What we are trying to do is put it under one, and you work with one client, and we take care of all the things under governance, under compliance, as would be required in a sustainable manner to ensure that our clients actually have time to put efforts into what they are working on. They've put a capability center to actually innovate, help other clients or work for their businesses, not really spend time on what is not their core. And this is our core. One of the core reasons of why we succeed, and that's also important, is to have a team which is focused on this. Yeah, at the end of it, the people and their capacity and their capability defines what you can bring on the table. And when you have a team which has an understanding of how this business runs, or in my management team today, including our founders, they come from large MNCs and corporates and enterprises in their past life. And with that, they come with what were the problems when they were in those organizations, what can we solve, and how quickly can we solve. So they've been on that side. And now they're working towards providing that solution. And then when you work with, let's say, the IPCs to be able to find the right balance in that, and then with the partners from the enterprise as well as the space providers for us, it becomes a wonderful marriage to achieve.
Cool. So I'll kind of switch gears. Maybe Aman, maybe you can start this one. One line on what the future holds for all this ecosystem in line with GCC, and one watch point. But request each of you to keep it brief. One watch point. So what the positive and one thing that we should, as players in this ecosystem, be careful of as we work in this, this environment. Maybe Aman, you can start.
I mean, clearly, I think we have with economic growth in India, this is a 10 to 15-year runway, which we absolutely would love to leverage, both as a mega city developer with developers and, and service providers. And one thing to watch for is the world is changing too rapidly. AI is causing a lot of disruption. So we have, on one hand, we have problems like the wars that are going on, and the other hand, we have, AI disruption. Yeah. And we need to have flexibility and nimble-footed as things to watch for.
Okay, thank you. Briefly, Gaurav.
I think from positive, I would say the talent and the growth that India is having, that really provides an ecosystem for us to be able to continue to have this runway upward. And I from a risk perspective, I do see much similar to what Aman said. I think there will continue to be disruption, whether it's AI today. I think it's going to keep happening and keep evolving. And the nimbleness, the flexibility is one part of it. But I think to be able to some extent, alienate those by having steps taken will actually make businesses more sustainable for the future.
Got it. Amit, maybe and then.
I think the key for all of us is skill. I think constantly we need to upskill ourselves because the world is a rapidly changing place. So there's new things that keep coming up, so upskilling is very important. And I think on the downside, again, being left out is a very important thing that we need to watch out for because, change is constant, right?
Okay. Yeah, please.
I think the interesting trend is I see all the lines blurring between your place of work and your place of fun and your place of productivity. And so I think lines are blurring between the office product. I see that a lot. And my only risk when we think about, hey, will buildings last next 40 years, we're building for the next 40 years. While, of course, the India growth story is great, for me, the only scare is what is the global macroeconomic trends, which could, of course, impact India. So more macroeconomic issues, no, nothing.
Fantastic. No, I think a very good discussion. I think, just to summarize, I know we are out of time, but a few key takeaways for all of you. One, I thought it was very wide-ranging. There's acknowledgement that we are all part of an ecosystem. It's end-to-end. There's a lot of clear clarity that if you provide world-class services, you'll get the premium. And the fact that, look, the runway is 14, 15, 20, 2 decades plus, but there are some watch points that we are all going to look for. And from our side as Deloitte, I think we also view ourselves as part of this ecosystem at the end of providing professional services with the people who are actually tenants in these GCCs. So thank you so much for being here, for having a great conversation. Again, want to thank all of you for a great session. Thank you.